Hello, my name is Chad Carson. I'm the Director of Technology at LACA. We're the ITC in Newark, Ohio, and I'm also the creator and author of the RAM software. This video is going to be the first of a two-part series that's going to introduce you to the RAM Requisition Approval Manager system. This video is going to show examples of the daily use of RAM at your district, what approvers are going to see when they log in, what your submitters of requisitions are going to have to do. And the second video will show you the behind-the-scenes setup of RAM. So that'll be more geared toward your treasurer's office staff and the treasurer who'll be setting up the back-end portion of RAM and making sure all the workflows are created, those kind of things. So LACA originally offered this software to our own member districts, but as word spread about it, we began working with other ITCs to allow them to bring RAM to their districts as well. So as of the creation of this video in March of 2016, we've got 15 different ITCs and 96 school districts across Ohio using RAM. So what exactly does RAM do? Most districts we've worked with, the requisition approval process goes like this. Your end users will enter requisitions into USAS or a USAS web, and then they'll print them off. They'll pass those printed copies around from desk to desk, getting signatures of approval on those, and then those will end up back on the accounts payable person's desk after all the proper signatures are on them, and that's their authorization to convert that to a purchase order. So what RAM really does is it takes that paper process of approval and turns it into an electronic workflow. So as you input requisitions into USAS or USAS Web, the way you do today, those will flow over into RAM. Everyone that needs to approve those will approve them, and then an email will be sent upon final approval to your accounts payable person saying these are the requisition numbers that are authorized to convert into purchase orders. So there's never any paper to deal with. And then your accounts payable person will go ahead and convert those to purchase orders inside of USAS, same way that they do today, whether using Mass Convert or one of the other methods inside of USAS. So for this demo, what I'm going to do, I'm going to log into RAM. I'm going to run two requisitions through a fictional high school workflow. And I've got three approvers in this workflow. They are the building principal, the superintendent, and the treasurer of the district. So I'm going to go ahead and log in now as A. Brown, which is Andrew Brown is my fictional principal. I'm going to go to Approve Requisitions. And you can see in here, I've got two requisitions to approve. All this information should look pretty familiar. Your vendor codes, quantities, prices, account codes, all the information out of USAS. Then this lower section, the requisition status history, this is all being created by RAM and stored in RAM. So this is showing Fred Miller, the employee that created this requisition. It was imported to RAM today at 2:53 p.m. And the same with this one down here. So I have a choice here of approve, deny, or add comment only. If I happen to see that Fred has used the wrong account code, I can type in, you used the wrong account code, please fix in USAS, hit add comments, and then behind the scenes, RAM has sent an email to Fred Miller saying, Andrew Brown commented on your requisition FM 345678, and you entered the wrong account code, please fix in USAS. Then Fred can log into USAS, type in the corrections, and then that'll come back over into RAM. And when Andrew Brown sees that, he can go ahead and approve this. This requisition also has an attachment up here. So since we're going to an electronic process, we found that a lot of people will create a requisition that just has a dollar amount, especially if there's a whole bunch of items to order, and they can just put the quantity of one, what the final dollar amount is, and then put a note in there to see attached. And then they might print off a quote from a vendor or something along those lines to pass around with the requisition. So since we're doing this electronically now, we can't really pass around just any printed document with it. So we have to make it so that you can add those documents in here. So any person entering requisitions can log into RAM and also add attachments to it. They can put PDF documents, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, JPEG images, anything you want to put on there. Just be aware that the person viewing the requisition has to have the right software to look at it. So if you put an Excel spreadsheet in there, somebody's going to have Excel loaded on their computer to view the Excel spreadsheet. Most buildings have a scanner inside of them, a copier that can do a scan to network or scan to email. So that's one way to turn a hard copy printed document into an electronic document you can attach. You can also attach, if a vendor has emailed you an attachment, you can just save that attachment out and upload it right into RAM and add it to the requisition. So if we click on that, since it's a PDF, it's going to try to open Adobe Reader and show me the contents of this. So depending on which type of attachments you have, just open whatever's on your computer to view that. So the approvers can view those. There's also, you'll notice here, there's a red note. This requisition exceeds $25,000. This is an option you can set on your district, a dollar amount of your choosing, and it'll just put that little extra red flag on there to try to draw attention to that requisition. So you may want to take a closer look because it's a pretty big one exceeding a certain dollar amount. Just makes it stand out a little bit more when you have a whole page full of these. So I can either click individual approve buttons on these, or I've been given the option here too of clicking approve all, which will approve everything on the screen at once. That's optional. If you don't want your district to have that approve all and you want to force your approvers to go on an individual basis and click approve on everything just to make sure they're really looking at them, you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and just click the individual approve here. It disappears from my list. It shows I've only got one left to do. I'll click approve on that one. Now it shows there's nothing for me to do at this time. I'm going to hop over here to just view requisitions. And inside of this screen is a way you can search if you want to find them, created on certain dates, or search by requisition number, approval, by vendor, by person. You can do that. I'm going to just click a search now. So it's going to show in the history here my comment that I approved it, and then it also shows this one's still in progress, but it's awaiting on Janet Jones to now approve it. So I'm going to log in, J. Jones, go to approve requisitions, and then I'll see the past history on here that it's waiting for me to approve it. And you'll notice this screen looks a little bit different. There's a drop down here that's got the choices approved, deny, add, comment, undecided. So if I add a comment on here, and if I go down to this one and do undecided and hit submit, that submits the entire page and submits all the actions that I've got selected. So I still have two waiting for me to approve because comments do not move them along to the next person in this workflow, and undecided is essentially just skip this one for now. Not sure what I want to do. So since I haven't really approved or denied, it's still in my list waiting to be a choice to be made on it. So the reason we have these different methods of approval, when RAM was first created, we used this drop-down version where you had to choose everything and then hit the submit button. And this works great if you have 2 or 3 or 5 requisitions to approve. But some of our larger districts, when we started bringing on, might have 30 or 40 requisitions on here to approve. And if they only want to go in and approve 1 or 2 of these, they would have to go through the whole list and say undecided, 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 and 30 of them, and then only select 2 or 3 to say approved on. Got to be a little cumbersome. So we switched, flipped it over, and started using the individual approve, deny buttons on each requisition. A lot of people liked this method, though, so after we did that, we got a lot of requests, can you bring back the drop-downs? So we give the option now, you can use the drop-downs if you want to, you can use the buttons if you want to, or you can use the buttons and add an approve all button. So 3 different methods. You can change those on a district-by-district basis, and even within the district, let's say you choose buttons, you can set individual approvers to use the drop-down menus, or take away the approve all button on individual approvers if you want. If you have somebody that just goes in and approves everything and never looks at stuff, you can force them to go through each individual one to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and set these to approve, and submit. So now there's nothing for me to do at this time. I'm going to log in. Before I go to my final approver in the workflow, I'm going to log in as Fred Miller. So this is the person who actually created those requisitions in USAS. And you'll notice there's no approve option up here. This is a person who just enters requisitions. They don't have any role as an approver in the district. If I go to view requisitions, this screen has cut this down so that I can only search for my own requisitions. So if I hit search, I can look at these and say, oh, okay, it's still in progress. It hasn't been approved yet. It's waiting on the treasurer to approve. And I can kind of see the history of who's looked at it and when. So this puts some of the power back into the hands of your employees who are entering requisitions to be able to check the status of their own. So this may save your office a few phone calls of them calling you and asking, yeah, I put a requisition in last week. Do you know what the status of it is? They can just kind of log in and check that themselves now. So we have the attachments, and I'm going to go into Manage Requisition Attachments, and I can pick this requisition, hit Next, and I can see my attachments here. So let's say I forgot something. I need to add another attachment to this. So I'm going to browse. We'll pick the document that I have for that. Hit Attach. And now I've got two attachments. Okay, great. If I go to View Requisitions now, you'll notice this one that I added the attachment to is now back to Andrew Brown again, who was the first person in the workflow. And it's got a note down here that Fred Miller resubmitted this, an attachment was added. So if you change anything on a requisition, if you go into USAS and add more line items, or you change dollar amounts, or you change account codes, or vendors, or add attachments, it's going to start the process over again for that requisition. And this is done so that, in this case, let's say there was pertinent information in that attachment, Andrew Brown and Janet Jones would never have seen it if I waited until they approved it and then added it and then let it go through the treasurer for final approval. So for auditing purposes, this just puts it back so that everybody sees changes that happen to the requisition, and nobody can change anything at the last minute and sneak it through. So I'm going to go ahead and log out. I'm going to go ahead and log in as Ian Riley, who is my fictional treasurer. I'm going to go to Approve. And we'll see I don't have both of those in here. The one is still waiting for the others in the workflow to go back and approve it. I don't see that yet until it moves up the chain until it's ready for me to approve. So let's go back in again one more time. Log in with Andrew Brown. I just have this one requisition to approve now, the one that got resubmitted. Log out. Log in as Janet Jones. Submit that for approval. And then log in as Dan Riley. Okay, so now I see both of those. The one that got resubmitted has been back through the other two approvers, and it's up to me now, and this one as well. So I'm going to just hit the Approve All button. Everything looks good, and those have all been submitted. So I'm going to go to View Requisitions, look at these one more time, and now you'll see they're labeled green, their status is approved. They've been through everybody in the workflow, so they're no longer in progress, waiting on anybody. They're done. Behind the scenes, this has sent an email to Fred Miller saying this requisition has been approved and this requisition has been approved. It's also sent an email to the accounts payable person in the district, letting them know these two requisitions have been approved and are ready to convert to purchase orders. And then they would go ahead and do that in USAS the way that they currently do today. So that is the end of the first video to show you what this looks like from an approver and from a submitter standpoint. The second video in this series will get a lot more into the inner workings of RAM, how to set up workflows, add employees, timelines, how things submit and update. So be sure to watch that video if you're the treasurer or treasurer's office staff who will be managing RAM. If you have any questions on this video, You can contact your ITC's fiscal department if they're currently offering that to your schools. And if not, feel free to send an email to ram@laca.org, laca.org, and we will try to answer your question the best we can. Thanks very much for watching.